Today's story is about my wife of 17 years had just told me she wanted a divorce. We were over that. All we had built together would finally be torn apart. I am not sure what my feelings were at that particular moment. It's going to be more shock for my two children. I decided to destroy her entire life. Okay, let's go on to the story. My name is Michael and my wife is Jennifer. We have been married for 17 years. We have two children, a son, Jacob, and a daughter, Emily. Jennifer had been coming home from work late for a long time. Today was no different. It was almost 10. The kids and I had already had dinner and finished homework. They had been in bed for almost an hour. They hadn't even asked about their mother or why she wasn't home. That was a recent development and it saddened me. I had spent the last hour reviewing our finances during the last 2 years. Things had gotten dramatically worse. Our income was way down. Not that my wife had noticed. She was still spending freely as if we didn't have a care in the world. I had just finished paying the latest round of bills. We could maybe make it another couple of months. I had been reviewing my life plan too. Maybe I had made a mistake. I had spent the last 2 years staring at a ticking time bomb, wondering if it was ever going to detonate. I always figured it would at some point, but I was starting to have my doubts. I don't know how long she stood there staring at me. I was getting lost in my own thoughts more and more often lately. Losing track of time was the byproduct. Finally, with her arms crossed and the all too familiar look of disdain on her face, she spoke. "Michael, I want a divorce." I am not sure what my feelings were at that particular moment. My spirit was so overburdened with self-doubt and loathing. I was almost numb to any new emotions. It really wasn't really all that funny. But I still found myself trying to stifle a laugh. My wife of 17 years had just told me we were over, that all we had built together would finally be torn apart. I hadn't felt this particular emotion in a long time, and it almost made me smile. Relief. I looked at her for just a moment, allowing myself a final journey to her happier times. Then it was back to reality. Okay. I was a better programmer than a manager. Unfortunately, programmers get promoted to project leaders, then to department chiefs, and then to senior management. That is how I ended up as the senior manager of product development. It was just a fancy title for a salesman. The reality was, at the time, I was the most qualified for the position. I had birthed our flagship product line almost by myself. I had nursed it through infancy, helped it grow during 6 successive upgrades. I knew our product best. When customers had questions, I had answers. When our staff had problems, I knew how to fix them. At a new hairstyle and overpriced suit. And I sure looked the part. The increased salary and benefits that came with my promotions were nothing to sneeze. I would say I was mostly content with my job, but I loved programming and missed it a great deal. In my position, I never had the chance to do it. There were just too many meetings and phone calls to allow myself the luxury of jumping back into lines of code. I was forced to watch a new batch of young, wild-eyed kids trying to one-up each other with their latest developments. I won't lie, being the boss was worth it, but I always wished that my job duties were a bit different. It was no surprise when I was fired from Chicago Technology Solutions. If I was in charge of me, I would have done the same thing. My attendance at meetings was sporadic at best, and too many deadlines have been missed. At the time, I wasn't trying to get fired, but I really didn't make any attempt to keep my job at CDS. I had been in a funk for a long time. It took me almost 3 months to get over my original depressed state and try and move forward. But that had been a miserable failure, too. It took me another month to find a solution to the predicament I found myself in, at least one that I could live with. I think I would have lost my mind if I didn't have the kids. They had an unblemished routine that helped me get my life back on a positive track. Breakfast, school, snack, homework, dinner, bed, breakfast, school, snack, homework, dinner, bed. That was my mantra, and it helped me find my way. I dove head first into being a stay-at-home dad. I took over all the housekeeping and taxi duties. The kids genuinely enjoyed my increased presence in the house. That allowed me to realize I had some value. I wasn't completely worthless if my wife. Since this change in our family dynamic, she never mentioned it. I am almost positive that she didn't even notice. I met Jennifer Riley at a fraternity mixer. I had almost decided not to go. I had joined the fraternity for the doors. It would open after graduation, not to attend party while in school. I figured I was going to need all the help I could get. My grades were outstanding, so that wasn't a worry. However, everything else about me was just average: height, weight, looks, personality, average. Jennifer was almost as average as me. I realized that average on a woman looked a whole lot better. She was a bit of a wallflower. I watched her for quite some time before I could gather up enough courage to speak to her. Our initial meeting was brief and quiet, but introductions were made. In the next few weeks, we met for coffee and shared study time at the library. We had been talking for almost 2 months before our first real date. From that date on, it was the most fantastic time of my life. 15 years of bliss. Our courtship was short. Our engagement was even shorter. We were married and at home in our first apartment in Chicago soon after graduation. We shared a morning and evening train to and from our first jobs. We were barely making it financially, but we were in it together. We had nearly everything in common: family histories, dating experiences, shared interests and goals. Where we didn't match, we meshed. If there was something that I didn't do well, Jennifer did. If she had a shortcoming, it was one of my strengths. I was better at managing our shared finances. Jennifer was better at keeping her social and family schedules. We worked together and our lives quickly started to improve. We were both promoted several times over the next few years. Our friend group expanded a great deal. We were able to save money for our first home purchase and still travel and entertain ourselves. Our sex life had started off much like our relationship. Slowly, we held hands and kissed from our first date on. We moved on to heavy petting when we realized that we were exclusive. Jennifer quit her job after 8 years when our son Jacob was born. Our daughter Emily followed a little over a year later. We bought a 3-bedroom house in the suburbs with room for a dog. We purchased a family sedan and a minivan. In general, our lives had shaped up nicely. 2 kids, a pet, a house, and 2 cars, completely average. I didn't think it was possible for me to be any happier. I was wrong. My promotion to manager happened shortly after Emily's first birthday. After that, it was almost like I was being rewarded for years of being ignored as one of the average masses and not complaining. Like I said, my new salary was nothing to sneeze at, and we didn't. I had flexible scheduling, working from home most days, heading to the office for staff and management team meetings. They say that money can't buy you happiness. I believe that is true. What? It can buy stylish clothes and personal grooming, better healthcare, a near home in a better neighborhood, and confidence. I went from average to slightly above average. My wife went from average, which I thought was beautiful, to slightly above average, which I thought was ducking hot. Our sex life, which I always felt was good, hit a new high. We traveled better and were able to spend time with the children, all while saving more and more money for retirement. When Emily started elementary school, Jennifer decided she wanted to go back to work part-time. She quickly found a job that she thought she would like at a start-up marketing firm. She would head to her office when she took the kids to school. She ended her day when it was time to pick them up. It was the icing on the cake. We didn't need her salary, so we were able to save it. By my projections, by the time the kids were finishing college, we would be able to retire and live a very comfortable life. Update: I found out my wife was cheating on me by accident 3 months before our 15th wedding anniversary. It was my birthday. I actually found the evidence 2 days before my birthday. I just didn't know it. It took me a few weeks to piece it all together. I didn't make much of the fact that my wife wanted to take a more active role in her new job. It meant that she would work a few more hours a week and I would have to pick up the kids from school. But that didn't really affect my schedule at all, and I was glad to do it. When, after about 3 months, I noticed that she was often distracted, I asked her about it. She said she was trying to find her stride at the office and was a little stressed. I decided to take over some more responsibilities at home to relieve some of her burden. When her passionate sex life took a noticeable dip, we talked about it. She said she was getting older and didn't need to have like a rabbit. It was the first time I had ever heard her say the word off, but things improved. Our sex life did pick up for a few weeks. then dropped off again. I was hesitant to mention anything again for fear of an argument. I was almost at my wit's end when I found the present. The weather had cooled considerably and I was looking for one of my sweaters. I had taken on laundry duty and had more than once mixed up which closet the clothes should go in. I was shuffling through sweaters on our closet shelf when I sighted behind several old show boxes. It was hard to miss the pink box and white ribbon from the lingerie store was unmistakable. The card addressed to lover got me excited. A small war of thoughts broke out in my head for a moment. Should I look? Should I wait? I decided to look. I wasn't sure I was going to be able to wait until my birthday to ravage my wife after reading the card. Please excuse the packaging that this gift came in. You can unwrap your real present on your birthday when I am wearing what is inside the box. Then you can have my last virginity. Love always, Jennifer. For the next 48 hours, I stepped up my game. I made sure to greet her at the door with flowers, gave her a foot massage, and I made her favorite dinner. Her reaction was not what I expected. It was like she was tolerating my affection the day of my birthday. I made sure that the kids finished their homework early. I didn't want any problems interrupting my gift. I was a little surprised when Jennifer was home late from work. I was even more confused when she asked me what was for dinner, but I was willing to play along to get my surprise. I said we should go out for pizza. The kids cheered and we were off. Michael conspired with our waitress, and just before we left, I was serenaded with happy birthday by the waitstaff. I thought I saw a surprise in my wife's eyes, but she quickly recovered. I'll give you your present later, Michael, she said as she smiled. The drive home was tense for me. I almost got in an accident. The 15 minutes waiting for the kids to get ready for bed was brutal, but the 15 minutes after that, waiting for them to fall asleep was excruciating. Fortunately, Jennifer was back from an emergency trip to the store for milk. Shortly after they were asleep. When I arrived at the bedroom door, Jennifer wasn't in the room. I went to sit on the bed. A few moments later, she walked out of the bathroom in a full-length flannel nightgown, vase devoid of makeup with her hair in a pony.